Okay, Star Warriors, I'm going to talk to you about a situation that is upsetting. I mean, a lot of this you already know, but I just want to put some of this stuff in perspective. I'm looking at an article. The title is How Kathleen Kennedy Has Turned #Lucasfilm into a Naked Mole Rat Colony. And we're going to explore what a mole rat is in this article. But the headlining image in the article is of 4 women wearing t-shirts, black and white both, with the words, "The Force is female," on them. I understand the feminist battle cries and everything are necessary for any movement, but feminism used to be, or was quote unquote said to be, about equality, and the Force has always and ever been genderless. But now it's female. And, you know, if you're looking at these new films, yeah, you can kind of get that idea. Women are the only ones who can use it in any sort of competent way. All the men who use it are inept. Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, Snoke, all inept. But you've got these women here. One of them's Kathleen Kennedy, and she's the only one wearing a black shirt that says this: "The Force is female." You know, used to be I never really wanted the Force to have anything to do with male or female. I didn't want it to be male, I didn't want it to be female. It was an all-encompassing mechanism in the story. Could be used by anyone with the power to use it. But let's read what this article has to say. This is a positive article about a negative subject, unfortunately. So let's take a look. #The Last Jedi is not a good film. It's not a good Star Wars film. It's not even a good Star Wars story. But rather than rehash this movie's many, many failings, I want to provide an answer to this question. How did this happen? Yeah, that's the question of the century. Kathleen Kennedy has turned Lucasfilm into a naked mole rat colony. When George Lucas sold Lucasfilm at Disney for upwards of $4 billion in 2012, he relinquished the franchise he had control for almost 40 years. An idea that Lucas would remain as a creative advisor was quickly squashed by Lucas himself, saying he would only cause trouble. Ideas for a third trilogy that Lucas had already been planning were completely scrapped. The future of Star Wars was a blank slate, and the Lucasfilm ship needed a captain. Months earlier, Kathleen Kennedy had already been named co-chair of Lucasfilm by Lucas, and upon the sale of Disney, she was appointed president of Lucasfilm and creative heir to the Star Wars empire. How in the world? I mean, we're going to learn more about Kathleen Kennedy in this article, but my God. Let's move on. Kathleen Kennedy has been a successful, award-winning producer for over 30 years. Starting out as a secretary for Steven Spielberg, she quickly became his trusted collaborator. In other words, she kissed Steven Spielberg's butt so much that he trusted her. But in other words, she didn't necessarily show any talent. She was just there. She was a secretary, and she's never really been anything more than a secretary as far as talent is concerned. But we'll see. She's, she rose to the vaunted status of producer, which means she was just there while more brilliant people got stuff done. She's been a producer on iconic films like E.T., Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, and Jurassic Park. She married producer Frank Marshall, with whom she also has a creative partnership with. Okay, so she married into power. She hobnobbed with guys like Spielberg, guys like Lucas. I'd never heard of her until Lucas sold Lucasfilm. Never heard of her. Why is that? It's because she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything but marry the right people. However, prior to ascending to the Lucasfilm presidency, she has been second fiddle to some of the most powerful and creative men in Hollywood. That's the point, right there. Lucasfilm is undoubtedly Kathleen Kennedy's, and everything the studio produces is hers. She is probably the most powerful woman in Hollywood, via San Francisco, and is directing the most lucrative franchise in Hollywood. The Force Awakens was released 3 years after the sale of Lucasfilm to Disney. Things were set in motion quickly. Star Wars veteran Lawrence Kasdan worked on the script. Spielberg-esque J.J. Abrams, Spielberg-esque, that's a laugh, was brought in to direct. Kennedy's guidance was there, and the edict that film's main protagonist be a female. But Kennedy was content to set the Lucasfilm machine in motion and oversee its operation. This was not the case with The Last Jedi. Episode 8 is obviously Kathleen Kennedy's film, and she has asserted full control over the creative direction of Star Wars. More on that later. So this is what we've really fallen into here with Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy does not care about Star Wars. She cares about Star Wars as a vehicle to further her uninclusive political agenda. And I'm not even going to grace it with the word feminism because it's not feminism. Anyone who wears a shirt that forces female doesn't give a rat's ass about feminism. They have some other sort of agenda that is far more twisted than feminism could ever be. But let's carry on. Naked mole rats are an interesting species, so here we go explaining the title of this article. They live in underground colonies. They are the only mammals that exhibit eusociality, like bees and termites. Meaning there is one queen who reproduces with 1 to 3 males. No other males or females are allowed to breed, and in fact, they remain infertile due to high stress level hormones caused by the queen stepping on their heads. Wow. If any female does become fertile, the queen quickly and viciously dispatches her. The non-breeding males acquire food and maintain the tunnels, and the females take care of the queen's young, offspring, and partake in cooperative grooming. Now, I guess this is a system that works in bug colonies and stuff. I don't know what it's like to be a bug. I don't want to know, but in our kind of society, wow, just imagine living in something like that where if you are born and you live in this society, you will not breed unless you are 1 or 2 to 4 people. You're this queen, and you're 1 to 3 males that exist in that society. And if you become fertile, you're going to get the axe. The queen is going to step on your head and crush it or something. Kathleen Kennedy has become the queen naked mole rat of the Lucasfilm colony. Substitute the idea of breeding an offspring with the creative process and producing a film. So who are the males that Queen Kennedy reproduces with? Take a look at this list. J.J. Abrams, Gareth Edwards, Rian Johnson, Phil Lord and Chris Miller fired, Colin Trevorrow fired, Ron Howard, Stephen Daldry rumored. Okay. These are all directors so far selected by Queen Kennedy suitable to mate with and birth a Star Wars film. What's missing? With the exception of JJ and Howard, experience is missing. Recently, Ridley Scott commented that Star Wars movies should be created by more experienced directors. And why not? Why not let some of Hollywood's best directors have a crack at Star Wars? And here's the kicker. Because they're not easily controlled. People at the top can't stand people who aren't easily controlled. Just in case you didn't know that. I'm sure you did though. And as we've seen over the last year, if you don't follow the orders of Queen Kennedy, it's off with your bloody head. Can you name another producer who has parted ways with 2, Really, 3 directors in the span of a year? During filming? It's unprecedented. Lord and Miller were supposedly fired for not keeping to the script. Trevorrow was fired for reportedly being difficult. The reality is they asserted creative control over their films, and Queen Kennedy was having none of that. Rian Johnson, however, followed the Queen's orders to a T. That is why he was rewarded with further breeding opportunities. A new trilogy, before The Last Jedi was even released. Also unprecedented. I mean, yes, that's the most unprecedented thing. This guy was such an ass-kisser that he was offered 3 more multi-billion-dollar films, or potentially multi-billion-dollar films, before his first one was ever seen by a live audience. I don't think I really need to go on with this article. I mean, there's not much of it left, but I'll leave it for you guys to read. I will put a link in the description box below. Tell me what you think about this ridiculous situation you're in. If you're listening, you are the new rebel. 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 You are the new